Welcome back to another fantastic episode of I'm Gonna Talk and You're Gonna Listen. I was trying to think of a way. I was trying to think of of an arch, like an arc, a point for this topic, a point to do this episode. A direction. And I'm watching this movie called Supernova. It's an old 2005 kind of made for TV-ish sort of movie, but done as good as they could at the time with the special effects. It's got a ton of absolute banger actors in it and stuff. And what you notice about a lot of these natural disaster movies, whether it's sci-fi or aliens or silly or serious, is it all is predicated on the fact that of government, right? A continuity of some semblance of normalcy. And the problem with the problem with a shutdown is kind of twofold. It's one or the other. It's kind of interesting. There's a dichotomy here. So when Sleepy Joe took a break for 4 months and nobody was running the country, it was kind of like a running joke. I'm not sure the lefty-loos really thought about it that much, but I think a lot of middle-of-the-road folks and conservatives kind of thought one of two things. And they either thought that, A, the cabal is running the country, and I saw a lot of memes saying, who's running the country right now? I guess the real people that were really in charge were running the country. And then you saw the other side that said, well, I guess we don't really need anybody to run the country. And I think a couple of really bad things are going to happen if the government completely shuts down here in a few months. Now, it has happened before, and it does take a while before things start to really fall apart. By and large, the government can run on autopilot for quite a long time. But that's also because there's a handful of people behind the scenes that keep everything going that you just never know about or never hear about. And I saw, a lot more people losing their mind on that Reddit thread that I was talking about today. I check it every day to see what the latest thing that day that, what gives them hope, what scares the shit out of them and what gives them hope. And then just the massive amount of like vitriol and toxicity that they have. But conservatives have metric shit tons of toxicity for them, and it's creating an untenable situation. So if you let this play out in your mind as a thought experiment, pretend a bunch of 18 to 24-year-olds somehow show up in every single office, and which is what the left swears up and down is going to happen. They're going to say, so, what is it that you actually do here? And the left imagines that these kids are just going to be so stupid and so naive and so young and inexperienced, and the people that do these government jobs are so experienced and learned and educated, and they know their jobs, and these stupid kids don't, and they're just talking about how horrible they're going to be to these kids. This is the scenario that they've made up in their mind. And both sides are just acting positively evil towards the other. And a lot of people have been wronged directly and indirectly by the three-letter agencies. And there also is a lot of good people that are trying to do good things at those three-letter agencies. But what happens when society, when there's a lot of friction, when it seems like resources are diminishing, they find somebody to lash out at, and they find somebody to blame. And I'd say, again, by and large, in both the private and public sector, the vast majority of people are worthless. This whole concept that, oh, high-performing federal workers would just go work for private. The private side doesn't have any better luck firing anybody. There's still rampant nepotism on the private side, not to mention the layoffs and closures and moving, like relocating is all just off the charts. Like, do you really think like Nike is any better to work at than the government is? Do you really think Intel or Microsoft or Amazon? Do you think Amazon is better to work at than the USPS? And so you privatize the USPS. Okay. Like, sure, like, does it really matter? Like, none of this really matters, right? All that matters is, like, you privatize USPS. Like, nobody's gonna give a shit as long as it still works. Like, nobody cares if the Department of Education goes away, as long as people start indoctrinating kids. Stop indoctrinating kids. Sorry, it's late again. Like, nobody cares if the IRS goes away because it just means we don't get taxed anymore. Like, nobody cares if the ATF goes away. It just means we get, like, our gun rights back, right? And I think what you're seeing from the Doge, at least so far, is they seem to be strategically going after, I'd say, soft targets, if that's an appropriate. They're going after low-hanging fruit. They're going after some of the kind of quote-unquote easier departments. I think they're kind of testing the water for, like, how much legal resistance is going to be put up to this, how fast people can enact legal barriers this time to start slow it down. Because the problem is, unlike immigration, that the Pacific Northwest, for example, had a long time to prepare their lawyers and their apparatus in advance, there wasn't very many checks and balances in place to stop DEI from getting wiped out. And I forgot if I talked about this in my last episode, but, like, not all DEI is bad. You know, someone needing, a sign language interpreter, or somebody needing a wheelchair ramp, or wheelchair parking where there's enough space for their van to bring out their wheelchair. Like, unfortunately, all that shit got lumped in with all of the, I guess what you would say is, like, ethnicity level, identity level DEI. And so you have PTSD, which is a very real thing that exists, lumped in with pronouns. and that all got lumped into one bundle, and that's not appropriate, right? You have people who are introverts and people who are extroverts, and you like lumped them together. And you have people on the spectrum or people with just other special needs. That is not the same as being a different ethnicity, okay? It's just not. Being in a wheelchair, or being deaf, or being blind is not the same as being an ethnicity that you think is disenfranchised. It's certainly not the same as being poor. However, interestingly enough, a lot of what fixes this is having your offices decentralized. And you come back to like the only like why were cities even invented to begin with? Like people can't even physically mentally know that many people to begin with. They're like giant open air prisons. So you're talking about wanting diversity, equity, and inclusion in what is essentially a giant open air prison. You know what that is? It's communism, is what it is. You want to say you have sympathy and empathy for everybody, but you've got homeless starving on the streets and burning things and stay warm and blowing fentanyl smoke in your face as you try to walk by, and then you may never wake up again. And these people do not want to work. They do not want to get sober. So how does all fit together? Somehow through all of this, deep down, even though everyone wants to own the libs, deep down everybody wants the government to work. They might want a minimal government, but they want it to work. Problem is people have conflated owning the libs, quote unquote, and those the government that's doesn't have to get out of his pajamas all day, just fucking retarded to begin with. All these like negative derogatory things, what really, they just want the government to be minimal and work. But everybody's so fucking toxic that they just can't differentiate the rampant amounts of corruption that is staring at everybody right in the face. And the fact that you can't just unemploy 2 million people. And this is kind of how my entire thought process came together. So there's kind of this there's this like phrase in one of the Lord of the Rings movies, and was it Worm Tongue? He says something like, "My lord, there is no such army." And if I used to kind of say I hadn't put two and two together yet at the time, but back last year when I was trying to figure out what the next big civil unrest was going to be, what you have to do is you have to find out who has an army, where are the numbers, how do you get to those numbers, right? If it's going to be a race war, how do you get to those numbers? Okay. And then you figure out what you have to do to piss off that group of people. This is how like psyops work. This is how trigger controlling works. And all of a sudden some stupid contrived bullshit happens and someone gets martyred and the rest is history, right? And the powers that be, the cabal, they know exactly what triggers everybody. The problem is there's so many different forces at play at the same time, and people do not want to just admit that like 95% of the government is like at least of the, the politician level is not the employees, the politicians, is like a giant uniparty. There's people that, think they think they're conservatives. Most of the people they support is the uniparty. There's people that think they're, the left or the liberals or the commies. Almost everybody they support is a part of the uniparty. The cabal snaps their fingers, and these people immediately do whatever it is every time. And in response, they get all the kickbacks. They get perfect stock market portfolios. They get unlimited amounts of money and all types of horrible, horrible things, because you can't get that high without doing things that bundle you in with them. And they're horrible people. The politicians are. But just because you're mad at the politicians, which, by the way, nothing is being done, they're all fine. They're all always fine. They didn't have to take the clot shot. They don't. Yeah, they don't have the same insurance as everybody else. They've all got golden parachutes, and they're all set for life. Okay. At the end of the day, you've got 2 million people suffering, and the elite is gonna. It's like when Hollywood went on strike, and the actors made, a showing for like one day for like 5 minutes to say something, and then they disappeared again. The actors don't care about a Hollywood strike. Actors don't care about AI. Okay? These politicians don't care about the government shutting down. Nothing in their life changes, right? Just like during the Rona, they still had 2 commercial freezers full of ice cream. Remember that shit? So you're dealing with this massive uniparty that doesn't actually care. Like, don't kid yourself. None of them are going to jail. I'm sorry, Nana, because I know I haven't argued with you about this for a while, but like, you're always sure that somehow these people are going to jail, but they're not, because the powers that be are so big and they're so high and they're so powerful that they're never going to let this happen. They control everything. They can shut everything down with the snap of a finger. And they are going to let 2 million people suffer. And do some of them do nothing at work? Absolutely. But most of them are not legislators or politicians. No doubt there's a few bad eggs. I think that FEMA thing showed that a while ago, where they're like, we're not going to help anybody with Trump signs. Um, are there a lot of liberals in government? Yeah. But like, have some of them made your life a living hell? Probably, directly or indirectly. And then I know you can't just say, well, they're just following orders, but like, do you think the person at the VA really cares what political alignment you are? Like, do you think the person at the Social Security office, or the person at the DMV, or the person at the USPS, do you think they care? Like, no, they don't. Like, are you so out of touch with everything that you just want all liberals to be unemployed? Because here's the problem, if we're theory crafting this out, how I asked, where do you get the army, right? You already have 30 plus million illegals running around. That's already a big enough. That's already going to be a big enough of a problem. Okay, you want to unemploy 2 million government workers, and they're going to have nothing to do, and 8 months of severance pay. That's 8 months of protesting you're going to have to deal with. Okay, and all the legal stuff and all the extensions and all the blah 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 blah. Like, you don't want to do this. You don't want to unemploy the entire government. I certainly know all the boomers don't, because they won't get their boomer checks anymore because they worked for that money their whole life. And all the people that are on Social Security disability, whether they earned it or deserve it or not. All the people that fought in the military and, need VA support. Do you just think all of those people should get fucked? Do you think everybody on Medicare and Medicaid should just get fucked, and everyone on Social Security should get fucked, and everyone on the VA should just get fucked? Like, that's such like massive nihilism. But that's basically where we're at. Here's the problem, though. Since we're already basically out of money anyway, that's probably where we're headed anyway. Right? You can fund the VA, but I don't think you can fund Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Like, you can't. Somebody's going to get fucked somewhere, right? But if you fuck all those people and unemploy 2 other million people, so nobody gets Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, disability, food cards, I guess fuck those. Like, if we don't have money, we don't have money, but like, if you unemploy everybody on top of that, and then we enter like a real recession, um, maybe interest rates will go down. Okay, maybe your money will go further, or maybe it won't, depending on if anything made in America is actually more affordable. Like, do you think taxes are really going to get cut? Like, that would be cool, but like, what I'm trying to say is, like, the system has a way of balancing itself and correcting, and the cabal more or less is usually in charge of that pendulum. Like, they're not going to let this get too far off the rails. They need the semblance of normalcy, because if the only way they let things swing off the rails is if it's like a controlled demolition to throw somebody under the bus to start the next civil unrest. Right? They want us at each other's throats. They want Republicans to be like, yeah, let's own those libs. Let's make them go back to the office. You can't work in your pajamas anymore. And you need to go to the office and collaborate. No, I thought you wanted them to go in the office and work. But now I thought you wanted to shut down 70% of their buildings. So you're going to force them back to the office, but you're going to give them a buyout, and you're going to shut their buildings down anyway. So on the Reddit, they're talking about basically having to work in closets and being crammed into like makeshift conference rooms for offices. There aren't going to be conference rooms available for anyone to actually have a conference anymore, because everyone's going to be crammed in them, and then they're just going to what? Shut the fucking buildings down anyway? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, the buildings should by and large get shut down, don't get me wrong, and maybe what they need is some kind of like shared government building in like every city, so like people can have conferences and stuff, since renting a conference room is so fucking expensive. But then they posted that fake New York Times article that said only 6% of people are going to the office, which cannot be fucking true. Period. That cannot be true. That seemed, nobody questioned it. There was zero evidence in that article at all. And somehow that's just the magic fucking article that just like blew the whole. That's the article that everybody cited, and that was just a figment of some retard's imagination, apparently, because there was no citations in it at all. And that's the same article that Musk quoted right after saying that New York Times was a rag and nothing in it could be trusted. So I don't understand why this can't be restructured in a way that doesn't scare the living piss out of 2 million people and cause massive civil unrest, all while not really taking care of the corruption. Like, all the corruption that the Doge is finding at OPM and the Treasury is really awful stuff. It is. But the way the communications are being handled is crap, A. And B, like, where is the oversight committee that's gonna start, like, actually, like, putting people in jail over this stuff? Like, it seems squishy, and it seems like a rush job. Now, don't get me wrong, I know why a lot of this stuff had to happen really fast, because they wanted to hide their tracks. That's why they wanted back in their buildings. I get that. But, like, for this to stick, for this to last, for this to not revert in 2 years as soon as we lose the House and Senate, because we always do, there needs to be something like ironclad this time. But they're not going to root out the cabal. They're not going to fix the uniparty situation. The fact that the left and the right both vote for the same people to be put in. Like, it's just not going to be fixed. And that's what people actually expect. They don't expect it to get fixed. They don't want it to get fixed. They want everything to go back to normal. They want things to go back to normal as fast as possible, but things can't go back to normal when there's big open festering wounds. And it's because people are asking for the wrong things. Forcing them back to the office doesn't work because none of them moved. We'll get them all to take drug tests. That'll own the libs. They don't do street drugs. That's retarded. That's so fucking stupid. If you want anyone to take drug tests, make everybody drug tests that's on government aid. You know, like people that are on food stamps and stuff. Make those people take drug tests. But a lot of people that are on food stamps are scamming the system anyway. And what this thing I saw where they were like using all their food cards to like buy all their food, and then they were taking it to their restaurants and then making food with it and selling it at their restaurants. I think like it's the same thing the illegals were doing when they got their cards in New York. So like you want minimal government, but the reality is that like ICE is going to have to be huge. I guess they're in some states they're training state patrol now, and in some states they got bounty hunters and stuff. But the reality is that like ICE is way behind the curveball. The left is already there. That there's already leaks where they're going to be. The left is already there warning everybody. And where are the arrests of people who are impeding ICE? Where are those? Where are those arrests? What? Why is our Second Amendment so like completely bastardized? Where are those? Where are those arrests? Like the thing is like this isn't going to get us back to where we need. Again, because Musk is treating this like Twitter, and everybody keeps sharing that stupid fucking meme of the monkey doing the eyeballs going, oh, Twitter, Musk fired 90% of Twitter and it worked just fine, and the government employees are like, with that stupid monkey, stuffed monkey doing the eyes. That's a retarded meme. That has nothing to do with this. Like, and here's why. He can't possibly know at all who in the government is really a high performer and who isn't. You'll have their performance, like, so they wrote out this whole thing on Reddit and they were explaining like their performance reviews and stuff. And they were like, well, okay, so he can get rid of all the people on probation. Okay, well, those were backfilling positions, so those people aren't really underperforming. They're just the next person backfilling a position. So I guess those people would all get fucked. And so you have people that have some kind of improvement plan, trying to get back to where they meet the requirements their bosses, expect them. Okay, so you just fire all those people apparently, but like you don't know if those people were put on an improvement plan because they were a low performer or because their boss just fucking hated them. So you can end up just like fucking a bunch of people that just piss the boss off. And then you've got all the people who are flying right down the middle, which could just mean they're coasting, doing the bare minimum, hiding, flying under the radar. Or it could mean that their boss just refuses to ever write down that they're doing a good job. So, how would you know? How would you really know who your real high performers are? And oh, by the way, if you just told them all they could just get 8 months of free pay, a lot of people on Reddit brought this up. Like, what if all the high performers just leave? Then what? Well, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do when all of a sudden, like, there really was 5 people's worth of work to do, and now one person has to do 5 people's worth of work? And now you might be a really toxic person that thinks, well, if that one person could now suddenly do the 5 people's worth of work, that means that you really didn't need the 5 people. But like, no, it just means you stress the one person out and burn them out. And if that was your most reliable person, now they just get sick and make mistakes, and eventually a car T-bones them or something. or there's just no work-life balance for them, and you've just doomed them to never see their family again. Like, in 20 years, are they going to look back and they'll be like, gee, I'm sure glad I didn't have that 20 years, of work-life balance to spend with my kid and my wife that I love so much. And, I missed my kid graduating, and then he got killed in a gun violence by a gangbanger in the city, and my wife got cancer and died. Boy, I sure am fucking glad that, that this turned out the way it did. And, I can barely see because my eyes are so fucked up from staring at a monitor for 18 hours a day. But boy, I got that work done. But then I got reduction enforced because I was the oldest person and made the most money. So they reduction enforced me and replaced me with a bunch of kids. Boy, I'm sure glad I fucking pissed my entire life away. Thanks. Here's your public service. You're welcome. Like, what the fuck is that? Who? Here's the problem, and you might be like, where did that rant come from? Because that is private sector corpo bullshit, is what it is. Working 18-hour days and sleeping at work and shit is fucking corpo nonsense. You don't need to do that. Just hire another fucking person and have 2 shifts. That's like if you have a manufacturing plant. If you have to go to 2 shifts, you don't have your first shift just work your second shift. You get 2 fucking shifts. Like, it's insane to me how people think that the government, you can somehow run it like a private company. Okay, so you have everybody work 10 or 12-hour days. When the fuck are they supposed to go to the bank or go to the post office or ever even take a day off? Okay, now I know you might be thinking, well, tell that to the people who have to drive trains everywhere and never get to see their kids grow up. They are on trains. That is a very rare situation. They make a lot of money, and they know they're going to be on a train. Not everybody has to work like that. There's people that work in mines too, but we don't all work in mines. There's people that are stuck on the space station, but we're not stuck on space stations at all. That's all like whataboutism bullshit. The reality is like, the government is not meant to work how private works. And if there was any silver lining to private being that insanely toxic culture, is that before wages got stagnant for the last 15 years, you used to be able to make a lot of money doing that really, really, really fast. And then you could take a break for like an entire project if you wanted to do a project of your own. Because you're making like double or triple what you'd normally make. So you could take your wife or your girlfriend or boyfriend on a vacation. Or you could just pay off all your fucking bills off like one project. It was like high stress, high reward. Like working on a crab boat for a few days, kind of, except not that extreme. And that's the problem. Like, that is not what the public sector is. Not only have their wages been stagnant for 15 years, but they make less than private does. They make less than private does. So you want the government to work hard, and you want the government to work 18-hour days, and you want them to work for no money because they should just be happy that they get to serve the public. But you're going to treat them like they're the fucking enemy because they act like the enemy. It's like, you're elected officials. You're thinking about your elected officials. You're thinking about policymakers. You're thinking about legislators. You're not thinking about like the 99.9% of people whose job it is to just keep everything running. It's like the water company or the power company or, sewage. Like, they're just keeping everything going. Now, there's a lot of shit that did need to go. And, like, that's what everyone needs to focus on. Like, put your feelings aside and realize what really needs to get fixed, which is they need to stop indoctrinating our children. They need to stop taxing us back to the Stone Age. The ATF needs to go fly a kite. DEI needs to be completely reworked to its, original mission, which should be Title VII. If you're not familiar with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it was written pretty well. It basically just says you can't discriminate people based on their disabilities, based on their religion, and based on their age. It's very, you can't discriminate based on their ethnicity. It's very simple. It doesn't say that anybody needs to be better than everybody else. It says you just can't discriminate against anybody. Like, that's what we need to go back to. Everybody being equal. So you can have a very, very limited government that still works, that people can still be proud of, that still pay a decent amount of money. But when the same few retarded fucking memes keep getting shared over and over, and everybody's too fucking stupid to just look into it and go, that isn't actually how this works. You can't. It would cost hundreds of millions of dollars to drug test every single federal employee. That's stupid. But people will be like, it's just a joke, bro. It's just a joke, bro. The problem is a lot of people are fucking retarded and think that it's a good idea. Okay? How about make memes and jokes of shit that are actually good ideas? Like, actually just decentralizing the government, the federal buildings entirely. If they need tons and tons and tons of people at the border, build more facilities at the border. Have the headquarters spread out across the border. This shit is not hard. Instead, what they do is they have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 hiring bonuses to move people down there. Why the fuck would you do that? The place is a shithole. Okay? Dallas-Fort Worth is fucking garbage. Don't even get me started about, like, Laredo and all those border towns. The Eagle Pass and shit. Like, oh my gosh, dude. Instead, what do they want to do? Force people back into DC, shithole. New York, shithole. Portland, Seattle, shithole. Have you seen Los Angeles lately? Los Angeles has fallen. Okay? They're dragging people out of their cars and beating the shit out of them in Los Angeles. That's what we've all got coming next, the way things are going. So if you're going to push people anywhere, if you're going to try to fortify anything, if you're going to try to force people back and build something up, why not the border? Sorry, that's the kitty food. Kitty food. Like, then you can staff it up. But, like, you don't need to force people back into Seattle and Portland, and then they want to build more fucking rail. Even though that shit's never made money. It's gross. Stop it. The fucking New York subway, stop it. It's gross. People getting pushed in front of trains and fucking set on fire. There was some dude that was just getting on the trains and just setting shit on fire over and over and over. Where the fuck were the police? Where Where were the National Guard? Like, they can't protect these damn trains. They certainly can't protect the buses at all. And they keep forcing people back on them. And it's only going to get worse. They don't have enough ICE to take care of the illegals. They don't have enough cops to handle the street lockdowns. Oh, just go to your car with a second person. Oh, yeah, so you can both get fucked up. Oh, go, just maintain situational awareness. Then what? You're disarmed. Just call 911. Just kidding, they don't come. Just call an ambulance. Just kidding, they're at code 0. Oh, they hired 3 new ambulance people in a city of fucking, what? 3 million? 5, 10, 20? How many millions of people are in Portland versus how many ambulances are running? Oh, but they have stricter laws for street lockdowns now. Oh no, it's a higher level misdemeanor. Because that's going to stop them when there aren't even enough cops to stop the street lockdowns to begin with. Unless they have state patrol already ready to go as backup and pre-staged. So what? So you have drones on them. So what? So you have helicopters on them. You don't have 300 cops to shut the street lockdowns down. Like, these cities aren't safe. There are businesses moving every single day. Forcing people back to the office is not going to fix this. And that's the same thing for all the state level retards that keep wanting to force all the state level people back to the office. You can't even afford the food there. The people do not get paid enough to afford lunch at the place that they're being told to work, let alone live. And so what they were talking about on the Reddit is they were saying all the people that saved their, that stayed living in the cities are now going to be like leasing out their back rooms to other federal employees and stuff. I don't know how they're going to vet them, and I don't know how that's going to be safe. There was this one I read, and they were like, sounds like they've already got like 2 people living there, and one of them's like, there's a 22-year-old gal living with me, but it's okay because she's going to be like on the opposite shift, that you'll probably be at or something. And so it's this guy and somebody that was like maybe closer to his age than a 22-year-old gal, and then he's got another room, so he's going to have. And I'm just like, yo, that's like a lot of trust. There's so much that can go wrong there. But like, that's what they're having to resort to. And never mind, on top of all of this, so many of these people, I forgot what the number is, but there's a lot of them that don't live in DC. They got hired full remote. They have no duty station at all. They live hundreds of miles away from a federal building. Hundreds of miles. They have no duty station. An orange man wrote down that they have to go back, and there was no, I can't think of the right word, no consideration given to people who are full remote in the middle of nowhere. What about all the people who have to do on-site visits? What about all the people that have to go audit things and investigate things, and they don't work in an office every day? They go check stuff out and they go do things. They rent their government car and they go drive and do government work. Those people aren't going to be in a fucking office all day. So you might be asking why I'm bringing this up again and again and again. It's because there's so many distractions. This 8-month buyout thing was such a huge distraction. Now I know why they did it, because the boomers won't fucking quit. And because people were working multiple jobs, and they want people to just take the 8 months and go back to their other job. I get it, okay? But it wasn't done right to begin with. The way it was written was extremely sloppy. They didn't coordinate on how proper retirement actually works. And so it wasn't effective, okay? Like, they fucked up, just like they always fuck up. And it turned into a big distraction. And I've said this before, and all these emails have been leaked, so you can go read them. If they had just professionally worded the email and coordinated with HR and had the FAQ right away, way more people would have taken the buyout, and it wouldn't have been a giant distraction. Instead, the fork in the road thing became a giant rally cry. Because again, the people who work in government are not like the people who worked at Twitter or Facebook or Nike or Intel or Microsoft or Amazon. The people in the government have been working there their whole life, and it's the only thing they know. And they cling to it for dear life. Someone who's been working at the unemployment office has been working at the unemployment office forever, and it's all they know. Someone who's been working for the DMV, and so on and so on and so on. They're not really transferable skills, per se. Bless their hearts, I love them. But every time I had to go to the unemployment office, I had to explain to them what I did. And they'd been working there for so long that they didn't even know what it was. But it didn't really fuck up their ability to do their job. You know, they were just like, okay, well, you sound like a really smart person. I think you're going to jump back just fine. Here, let me turn your unemployment back on. And I'm like, thank you. I'll see you again soon. And they were very sweet and nice, and I developed a great rapport with one of them. She was so sweet and she was so nice. And she always made sure that my unemployment got turned on, even though she had no fucking clue what I did. And like, it's the same thing with the DMV. They don't know what you did. They don't know what you do. They just know that they got to get your driver's license turned back on. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is completely fucking different than a bunch of people at Twitter who could just go work for Facebook tomorrow and Amazon the next day and Facebook the next day, and it's all just like interchangeable, agile scrubbing, Kanban, fucking Kaizen, whatever the bullshit of the day is. Okay, or now it's all like AI, Python shit for the most part. Like, those people could pick up and get a job, but that's not how the government works. And they outsource all their IT shit anyway. They all just do their one thing. And sorry, the cat food's dish, no more cat food. They do their one thing, and that's the one thing that they do. And those are the people that everybody wants to fucking terrorize. And yes, there is a vocal minority of lefty-loos there that are now saying they want to make everybody else's life a living hell. And no good is going to come from that. Should those people find something else to do? Yeah, probably, but this isn't going to be the way to do it. Because there's no mechanism in place to weed out true, legitimate low performers. And there is no way to promote, hype, or even save or give any benefits whatsoever to high performers. If you have somebody that's a really high performer in the government, they're kind of fucked. especially when their pay is frozen for ages and their grade is stuck. And if their management's not going to give them good reviews, they're kind of just fucked, and they got to kind of move around and hope for the best. But really, they kind of just like being left alone, and they like being a public servant, and they kind of make enough money. And those are the people that are being fucked with. Just like when Musk fucked with everybody with the H-1B thing, walked right into that minefield like a retard. He didn't read the room because he wants to be the big dick. And this is exactly what he's doing with the government. They, just like everybody else, they just like to know that everything's going to be okay. They just want to know that their jobs are going to be okay at the end of the day. They don't give a shit about going back in the office. For the last 4 years, the left has been trying to get them to go back in the office too. They don't really care about going back to the office. They don't really care about being drug tested. They're all a bunch of social butterflies. They don't mind being in the office and chatterboxing. Probably means less work's going to get done, not more. Unless you want even more management bloat. Well, if they're in the office, then people can really tell if they're not doing anything or not. No, because there's massive management bloat, and they're not going to do anything either. So you just self-owned on that. None of this is going to fix that. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. They might shut down a few 3-letter agencies. But do you really think the ATF is going to get shut down? Do you really think the IRS is going to get shut down? Sure, they might shut down the Department of Education, and you said, and a couple of others, maybe, I don't know. But there's 2 things in life that are guaranteed, right? Death and taxes and gun control. They're not going to make, he's not going to make the ATF go away. He's not going to make the IRS go away. In fact, ironically, the IRS, even if they took the 8-month payout, the IRS people got told they had to stay until after tax season. I thought that was kind of funny. So, if you don't, I keep saying this every time, if you don't hold your own side to account, that's how we got into this the last 60 years, is people getting other people into the office, then going back to work and just assuming everything's okay. You hurting the lefty lose feelings for a couple weeks, sharing fucking retarded memes that don't actually even make sense. They're only funny if you're just an oxygen-starved fucking retard. That's not gonna move the needle. If you want the problem actually fixed, you need to be able to articulate to people what the real problems are so they really think. So somehow, at the end of all this, we can end up both A, with a system that actually works better, and B, figure out how to actually reconcile. And unless you put these people on trial and explain to everybody that what they did was wrong, and explain that you don't need trans pogo stick lessons in Afghanistan or whatever the fuck, explain the money laundering and everything, and explain how the money is just looping back around and lining a few people's pockets, you will have successfully, quote unquote, owned the libs for a little while, but all it's done is galvanized them even more. All the while, all you have done is gotten more fat and lazy and useless and complacent. That is what always happens when Orange Man is in office, is everybody just sits back and thinks they don't have to do anything, and they think he's going to fix it all, and then all of a sudden you got another fucking January 6th on your hands. Or if you're in other parts of the world, you have really other horrible dates to worry about. Weak men create bad times. Okay? You can't keep counting on these people, and especially you can't keep counting on each other to make sound, rational decisions. Because goodness forbid, if for some reason the entire government did get unemployed and the shutdown did go on for way too long here in a month or so, you are talking about 2 million pissed off unemployed people on top of another 30 million pissed off illegals. Like, it is going to be, they will not have anything to do. That is the most dangerous thing in society, as we saw in 2020 and 2016, when you have people with money and way too much time on their hands. Like I said, the illegals are already dragging people out of their cars. Okay? I'm not saying the unemployed federal people are going to do that, but it's still going to be civil unrest. It is still going to throw things upside down. And 9 times out of 10, even if their protests are completely calm and, well, relatively, I would say their protests have already gotten nasty. And I would say, based on what I've read on Reddit, they already want to do some really nasty things. But you also have the fact that other people like to piggyback and dovetail in on these and cause even more anarchy and chaos and false flags and stuff. Like, civil unrest is not good for this country. It is not good for putting things back together again. We have to be able to reconcile, because deep down, people want the government to work. They want the lights to turn on. They want the water faucet to turn on. Okay? If they have natural gas, they want their natural gas to turn on. Why do you think the government gets its bills shut down when they try to shut off natural gas? Which is what happened here. People want their natural gas. That's why they won't let their wood stoves be banned. Because they like their wood stoves. People it's why they won't ever let their guns completely get banned. Like, deep down, everybody here on both sides knows that they like the internet to work. Now, I know the government doesn't do the internet, but, like, you know what I mean. They want the roads to work. They want the bridges to work. Everybody just wants to do their thing. They want their TV to work. They want to be left alone. They don't want to be fucked with. And in order for us to move forward, we have to be able to root out corruption and make changes that actually make sense, that don't completely upend and fuck everybody's lives. Oh, like, I don't know, force everybody to go to EVs, or crash the power grid by adding too many data centers. Like, things that really could fuck with everybody. Like, people need to be paying better attention to what's really important. Okay? So I think I found, a way of explaining all that. So, in closing, I want to thank all my regulars. CDK, I see you there. Appreciate you. Jimmy, thank you. Wolverines, I see you. It's good to hear from you again. Virio, pleasure as always. Elfsar, it's good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. And Pearsy Poo, as always, appreciate you all. Thanks for dropping in. And thanks for cheering me on and keeping me going. I hope this resonates, and I appreciate you all. And I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Hopefully the next one, yeah. I'd say hopefully by the next one, most of this will have blown over. But the 8-month pay thing got bumped back by a judge to Monday. So I guess there could still be more crazy news on the horizon, but I actually think that's going to be a footnote. What I think is going to really mess everything up is if they actually do fire all the contractors and all of the people who are in probationary status. That is going to royally fuck everything up. Is it going to save a lot of money? Yeah, it is, but it's going to fuck everything up big time. So hopefully Monday just blows over and the judge just goes, never mind, and we can go back to normal-ish, because that's what everybody wants. Everybody just wants to go back to normal, and I think everybody wants the Doge to track down corruption. And I think that's a thing that could happen, and I think that's personally a really reasonable thing, and I think both sides would really resonate if they could brand themselves as a corruption hunting team instead of just pure chaos. Like, Trump needs to stop acting like pure unadulterated chaos. I think he's doing way better, but I think now Musk has just become chaos, and some people think that's fucking hilarious, but it's not conducive to like a light, streamlined, efficient government. Just chaos. I think there's more to it than that. I think he's finding a lot of really bad things that need to be exposed. But it's been a couple weeks now. They need to do a better job exposing and getting these things in front of the American people and figuring out how we're going to fix this so it never happens again. Anyway, so I appreciate you all, and I hope my next one can be about some other stuff, but this is just really heavy on my heart, so I wanted to share it. So y'all take care of each other, stay out of the cities, trip check, plan alternate forms of communication, and get training and take care of each other. One.
With you, but you're stuck in here with me. Those coffee pods are free, bitch, so pay the coffee fee. I want those shits out of the roof until so we can start a car and put all the fucking chairs back first, bitch, cause it's safety for all. I'm in it, I'm center, cube, renter. Nobody's going to stop my collaborating. I'm in it, I'm center. Take off back in the office and work for me. By 1 p.m. bitch, forget having a lunch. I want the icebreaker about what happens if you snitch to HR too. I'm dying of lunch. Yeah, we are getting out of here by 5:30, so cancel your family vows, cause you're never fucking getting out of here. You're in the office now. It's like real family. I'm center, cube, renter. Nobody's going to stop my collaborating. I'm in it, I'm center. Take on back in the office and you work for me. And I'm a girl too, you see. your life a living hell. Tee-hee, I'm going to dress up real hot and boss you the fuck around. And if you don't do what I say right now, I'll make you add on 3 more pronouns. I'm in it, I'm centered, you render. Nobody's going to stop my collaborating. I'm in it, I'm centered. Take on back in the office and you work for me. Bossing, don't you ever forget, I know all the ins and outs, but still steal your work without any regret. How you wanna kick you to the curb the second I need one at my desk working on my nails? You go to your human bleed. Now run to the snacks area and get me my tea, then give you a humane.